Welcome to NFL Live. OTAs continue today for teams around the league, including the Chiefs, where quarterback Patrick Mahomes was back on the practice field again, less than 6 months after tearing his ACL and LCL. We're going to hear from Mahomes shortly. Aaron Rodgers at Steelers OTAs said last week he plans to retire at the end of the season. Jeremy Fowler lets us know how the league views his reunion with Mike McCarthy. And C.J. Stroud still without a new deal in H-Town, but present at their off-season workouts. We'll hear from Stroud and Texans head coach DeMeco Ryans later in the show. Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday. Hannah Storm with the Florida War here. We have Kevin Clark. We have Jeremy Fowler. We have E.J. Manuel, all from all of those fabulous different colleges there in the great state of Florida as I represent Notre Dame. Okay, all eyes in Kansas City on star quarterback Patrick Mahomes at their OTAs today. Mahomes back on the practice field, suffered that knee injury in December, spoke to the media moments ago about trying to be ready to play as soon as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to play, so I don't want to miss games as much as possible. I know it's not all in my control. I mean, it's in God's control at some point, but I'm by the way I work to be the best I can be, and so I'm in a good spot now. Compared to where some people thought, but I thought I was going to be here. So it's just doing what I'm supposed to do every single day, and then hopefully that gives me the chance to be out there with the guys whenever we start the season.
And for more, we bring in our Chiefs reporter, Nate Taylor. He was at Casey's practice today. Nate, what was your biggest takeaway after watching Mahomes live?
Yeah, Hannah, there are several takeaways from the Chiefs practice that just finished 2 hours ago. And most notably is that Patrick Mahomes went through every drill and was a part of almost every period except for team periods today, Hannah. So that's 11 on 11. But I can tell you, in the 7-on-7 portion of today's practice, Mahomes was able to go through his dropbacks, step through 2 passes, and made 2 exquisite touchdown throws to Xavier Worthy, each in the back of the end zone, each between multiple defenders. So that's a great sign. And for the Chiefs, this week went about as well as it could have gone for Mahomes. And of course, he's been going through the rehab since his December 15th surgery. And he's been with Julie Freimeyer, one of the top Chiefs trainers, just about every day since his surgery. And because of that work, that has allowed him to be a part of these 3 practices this week. It's going to allow him to continue to be a part of the Chiefs offseason program. And for Mahomes, the next checkpoint will be, when can he run? When can he make cuts? When can he maybe accelerate a little bit more with his footwork? That might allow him to be a part of the team periods that we didn't see today. But for everything that the Chiefs have asked for Patrick Mahomes, he is still on target to be a member of the team as the starter in Week 1 on September 14th against the Denver Broncos. He said he expected to be here today, Hannah. He expects to be along of all the ways moving forward, whether it's the mandatory minicamp, training camp, and of course, the start of the upcoming season.
Man, that sounds like great news. Love hearing about those exquisite touchdown throws today. Nate, we appreciate you. Thank you. Explosive plays in that passing game, by the way, have been hard to come by for Mahomes and the Chiefs. So in his first 4 years as a starter, he leads the NFL with 41 touchdowns on passes of at least 20 yards downfield. You remember those days, right? But since Tyreek Hill's departure, he has 7 touchdowns and 11 picks on those 20-yard throws. That's since 2022. Now, some notable quarterbacks with more of those touchdowns over the last 4 seasons include Aiden O'Connell and Will Levis. I have to thank Brian Beasley, our researcher, for that crazy note there. So they kick off the season in prime times. Everything sounds great. Ideally, Mahomes is healthy. What are the implications, though, if he's less than 100%?
It's very simple. Justin Fields can't float this franchise for any amount of time beyond maybe a week. Really, that's it. This is the biggest news in football, that Patrick Mahomes looks like he's on track. It's black and white. There's no gray area here. He is the franchise. They've nailed everything as far as this offseason goes. Kenneth Walker is going to be a cheat code in the run game against those 2 high looks. They added pass rush. Peter Woods out of Clemson, R. Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma. Nailed getting the best cornerback in the draft, Monsieur Delane, but the roster is not quarterback proof. Mahomes has to be there. We mentioned some of the tweaks the offense has to have. They have to get better at the deep ball, the explosives, all of that stuff. But guess what? Patrick Mahomes is still elite at any level of the field underneath that. He's going to be a game changer if he's there week one. The fact that sounds like he's on track, there can be, by definition, no bigger news in the sport.
And Kevin, the Chiefs are leaning into this week one possibility. They believe it's true because when you talk to people inside the building, they use words like maniacal, uncompromising. That's what he's been with rehab. He usually goes to Texas for part of the offseason. This time he stayed in Kansas City working on the entire process. He's really been throwing for like 2 months. And so like Nate mentioned, I'm told the next step is cutting, and then he eventually needs to get cleared for contact. And his hope is to be able to get some sort of preseason game action so that if he's there week 1, week 3, whenever it is, that he's not taking his first tackle, his first shot without getting any sort of game reps.
Right, which he does every year. He plays in preseason.
Which he does every year. So this is a process where they're saying, hey, if he can pull this off, if anybody can, it's going to be him. They're not shying away from him.
Yeah, well, look, I think this is a huge positive for the Kansas City Chiefs, but also, for Patrick just to have the confidence to be back out there, to be throwing the football. As an athlete, when you get hurt, it does something to you, not just physically, but also mentally, as you're not able to fight for your team, and especially Patrick being the guy that I know he is. He wants to be out there. So, you're going to have to drag him off the football field before you basically don't let him out there. But I will say this, the Chiefs did a great job of also bolstering that running back room, and I think that's going to be a big key for this offense early in the year, especially if Patrick's not able to be as mobile as he's been in years past. You bring over Kenneth Walker III from a Super Bowl champion winning team in Seattle. Now he's going to be your bell cow. You also have a couple other running backs, Imari DeMarcado. He's going to be joining this team. They also went ahead and drafted Emmett Johnson, and they got an undrafted free agent in Jaden Ott. So when you look at this running back room, also with Eric Bieniemy coming back, who's been offensive coordinator there for a long time, very well known with those running backs, I guarantee you there's going to be a team that uses the tight ends with Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, but they're also going to run the rock a ton early on in this season.
I've talked to Patrick Mahomes a lot in training camp about his process, and just him being out there emotionally is a huge lift for the team. He's always working on a different thing with his guys every single year. So just the idea, even if he's not ready to go until, let's say, week 2, week 3, week 4, him being out there on May 28th is a massive thing just for the franchise. He really is the franchise alongside Andy Reid. So just his boost there and what he likes to work through, how he watches film, how he's going to ingratiate himself with the new guys. Remember, we talked about the deep ball. That's chemistry. That's a lot of that stuff. That's reps is happening right now. Maybe it's even in the meeting room, stuff like that, but that stuff matters. Jacoby Brissett had a better deep ball passer rating last year. Geno Smith, Tua had a better deep ball passer rating. That stuff this time of year matters as far as that goes. That won't happen again.
Yeah, and as far as that rushing game that EJ, that you guys were talking about, they only had one rush, one for over 20 yards last year. I mean, one. That is absolutely crazy. Obviously worst in the NFL. All right, let's go to Pittsburgh, where Aaron Rodgers is back for one last ride this season. He's with the team for their OTA workouts this week. How about that? The 42-year-old quarterback reuniting with new Steelers head coach Mike McCarthy this season. Last season, he got rid of the ball at the fastest rate in the NFL. You've heard a lot about that. Pressured at the second lowest rate of any QB. But here's the problem. When things broke down, it didn't look very good. When opposing defenses pressured him, Rodgers overthrew or underthrew his receiver on 42% of those passes. That was the highest off-target rate of any qualified quarterback in the league in that situation. And I'm just wondering, Jeremy, what's been the talk, all the folks that you talk to all the time around the league about these two getting back together, Rodgers and McCarthy, something they never could have envisioned. Yeah,
Hannah, people I've talked to are a bit skeptical, and they're fascinated to see how this plays out because they know how things ended in Green Bay, where Aaron Rodgers kind of felt like that he had graduated from Mike McCarthy's system, that he could handle the offense really on his own. They were not clicking in the positive direction. And so it's been a long time. I've talked to some people in Pittsburgh who believe that they're well past that. McCarthy's in a good place. Rodgers in a good place. He's just looking for one last ride, try to win some games. So there's a little bit of humility there from both sides potentially where they feel like this will work out. The more fascinating subplot here is what they do with the other quarterbacks. Who's going to be the two? That's what they're working on right now. Will Howard probably has the inside track at that right now. They've been impressed with him.
When you say, Jeremy, you've talked to skeptical people, are you talking about me in the hallway out here? Because I've been extremely skeptical of this marriage and what this is going to look like this year. I was surprised, borderline shocked last week when I came out and said I didn't see a lot of hope here for this team as far as contention goes. We got hundreds and hundreds of Twitter comments and Instagram comments of Steelers fans who are angry at me, and I read all of them. I didn't see any good points except one person mentioned that my head was too big for my shoulders. That is a fair point. That's fine. I get that a lot. But beyond that, the football part of it, I don't think the OC change or the play caller thing is going to matter that much. I don't think Aaron Rodgers can actually throw the deep ball anymore like he could. He can't move like he could a few years ago. This is just a different quarterback. He's limited. He's one of the best players in the history of the sport. The optimistic case here is Michael Pittman will make a difference. The optimistic case here is that Mike McCarthy will make a difference. But even so, I don't see them finishing better than third in the division if the Bengals are healthy and the Ravens are healthy.
Well, so you don't even see them as a playoff team, it sounds like.
All right,
EJ, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I will push back on what Kevin said. Look, the Steelers know what they're doing when they bring back an Aaron Rodgers for year two. And consider this. I mean, he was just there the entire season. You have a new regime with new head coach Mike McCarthy coming back to the coaching ranks. They could have easily went a different direction and had Will Howard and Mason Rudolph or even Drew Allard, for crying out loud, being a starter for the beginning of the season. So they obviously think enough of Aaron Rodgers to still be good enough to still play. And guys, I believe he is. You know, even at 42 years old, obviously he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But as you mentioned, bringing over Michael Pittman Jr., getting Rico Dowdle as well in that run game, I think those are two areas where now you have a big body receiver opposite of DK Metcalf. You also have one of the biggest tight ends in the league in Darnell Washington. So I do think this is an offense that will still have abilities to be explosive, but ultimately, when you look at the quarterback room for the Steelers, A-Rod is the best option right now, and I just feel like he gives them the confidence to go out there week one.
EJ, you mentioned Rico Dowdle, the new free agent addition of running back, is going to be a huge factor for the Steelers because when they signed him, they wanted somebody for between the tackles. They had already anticipated that they were going to sign Aaron Rodgers. Kevin mentioned the mobility is basically shot at this point. So they need a between the tackles running back. He's going to get a ton of carries. They have Jaylen Warren. He's sort of a do-it-all, versatile back. So they believe those two complement each other well. Expect to see a lot of Rico Dowdle this year.
Can I just say, though, one of the highest paid and oldest defenses in the NFL last year, and they underperformed. So we do need to think about that side of the ball as well. All right, we're just getting started on NFL Live. Let's go. Matthew Stafford is C.J. Stroud, still waiting for a new contract in Houston as he enters his fourth season, coming off an absolute disaster of a playoff performance. Out on the practice field today, spoke afterwards about his feel for Nick Caley's offense.
Going in a year two of a system, you know, you learn more, you can operate better, you know how to coach guys up. So I think we've taken a huge step from where we were last year to where we are now. I think the culture is, starting to, pick up on offense. We're, getting it together.
CJ's doing a great job all offseason. It's probably the first time he's had a full offseason. He's been dedicated to the work. He's doing a really great job of, first and foremost, just being here, being accountable, owning the reps, doing a great job of communicating.
EJ is coming off those 4 first-half picks against the Patriots. Terrible playoffs from the offensive side of the ball. What are your expectations for Stroud here in year 4?
Yeah, Hannah, my expectations for CJ is to have a huge year. And one thing I would give the Texans ownership and front office a lot of respect and credit for is aligning themselves with CJ this offseason publicly, making sure, hey, look, this is our quarterback moving forward. But for CJ personally, look, when guys get to that 4th year, that's usually when they make that big leap, that jump, and they're consistent play. If you look at CJ year over year, I understand he had the huge rookie season, 2nd year, 3rd year was what it was. And then, like you said, Hannah, didn't finish strong at the end. But ultimately, these failures and also the successes are what build up a quarterback's callus. And when I talk about a callus, just that ability to continue to be consistent day in, day out. He's put in the work. His body looks fantastic. And also the Houston Texans have done a great job of compiling some really good talent around CJ. So considering that contract's out there, he's going to allow his agent to do what he does. But ultimately, I think CJ is extremely locked in and is primed and ready to have a huge year this season.
Tough last 2 years, just like Florida State, EJ. Just trying to recapture that 2023 form. Just wanted to put that one out there. But no,
Miami.
With CJ, I mean, it's a very easy equation. If he plays like he did when he was a rookie, they win the Super Bowl. Their defense flies around as unbelievable. They add in Caden McDonald from Ohio State, a big run stuffer to put best on best there. Their defense, very similar to Seattle. They just need a quarterback who can be top half of the league, not turn the ball over in the playoffs. That's the big difference between Sam Darnold and CJ Stroud. And obviously, Stroud needs to understand and get more comfortable working the ball down the field. Nico Collins' health is a huge part of that. But I just think that if you just unlock your inner Sam Darnold, take what the defense gives you, don't make those huge mistakes like you made in the playoffs, good things will happen. I agree with EJ in the sense that the commitment from ownership, from the coaching staff, to say, hey, he's our guy, without signing that extension, without putting $60 million behind it, they played this perfectly.
Wait, unlocking your inner Sam Darnold. I'm sorry. I thought that is a phrase I would never hear. But anyway, Jeremy, go ahead.
If he balls out, Kevin, he's going to be in a better position with his contract.
Yep.
My sense is he's going to play this out. He's going to play the fourth year of his rookie deal. The Texans have paid other players. They paid Will Anderson, several guys on the defensive side. Stroud's coming off a rough end of last season. He can go out, put up huge numbers. He's got chemistry with his receivers. They are set up to play well in the second year of Nick Haley's system. And this offseason, Stroud has been doing a lot more with the team than he was last year when he had a shoulder issue. He barely practiced in the spring. Now he's all in, feeling good, feeling healthier. So my sense is he's going to go in and not do a deal right now. And that puts him in a good position here.
Listen,
he can get back to what he did as a rookie, perhaps, and get back in that sort of top 10 quarterback conversation.
That's best for everybody.
But please tell me they fixed their offensive line issues finally, because we've been after this for a couple of years now.
They've done just enough.
Rutledge from Georgia Tech is an awesome interior offensive lineman. That will help, but I'm still worried about the Braden Smith. He's had injury issues. I'm 5 out of 10 worried.
That's been a problem. 5 out of 10 worried. All right. I'm sticking with EJ. I'm looking for a big year from CJ. All right.
There we go.
Coming up on NFL Live, the Vikings quarterback competition is Stafford on the field for Rams OTAs today after signing a contract extension last week that ties into the team through the end of the 2027 season. Puka Nacua also present after spending part of the offseason in rehab to, quote, improve his overall behavior. That's according to his attorney. For more, we welcome in Lindsay Theory. It's great to see you, Lindsay. What stood out to you watching Stafford and Nacua out there today?
Hi, Hannah. Well, it's all about enthusiasm. It's only May 28th, but you would never know it by watching how these guys are reacting to the plays that they're completing now 50 minutes or so into OTAs. Let me take you through some 7-on-7. Matthew Stafford, the third play, completes a pass to Davante Adams. What do you see Sean McVay do? Give him a solid head nod. A couple plays later, another completion to Davante Adams. What does Stafford do? Gives a little hand clap. And then finally, the last play I saw before coming out to talk with you, a completion to Puka Nacua, which actually had Sean McVay running in circles, kind of looking like a little kid out there once again. Needless to say, you mentioned it, but Sean McVay very happy to have that extension wrapped up for Matthew Stafford about a week ago. Those guys obviously very much on the same page as they go into the final phase of OTAs. And then you mentioned Puka Nacua. His presence out here was very much expected from the team, but nevertheless a very welcome sight to have Puka Nacua here. And we actually this afternoon will be hearing from Stafford and Nacua for the first time this offseason, obviously since that extension and since Nacua returned from his stint away, Hannah.
All right, Lindsay, we'll look forward to that. And obviously that connection is so critical to the Rams' success this season. Stafford set a single-season record, 46 touchdown passes on his way to winning the MVP. Just nearly untouchable. He ate up blitzes as well as both man and zone coverage. Sean McVay incorporated more 13 personnel into the offense. That really paid off for Stafford. He threw 20 touchdowns with the one running back and 3 tight ends on the field. That was 16 more than any other quarterback, EJ, which is why everybody wants to do it now. What needs to happen for this team, do you think, to get to the Super Bowl on their home field this season?
Yeah, well, Hannah, of course, it starts with the health of Matthew Stafford. But I would say the biggest piece for me is a healthy but mentally healthy Puka Nacua, who obviously has had some things go on this offseason. And look, when you have 1,700-plus receiving yards in 1 year of football, that's unbelievable. Now, I know JSN did it as well with Seattle, but look, that's a huge key to this offense. Now, if he's not able to be mentally right, I don't think you get that type of production. Now, when I think about Matthew Stafford as a quarterback, even when he was at Detroit, he had Megatron. Matthew Stafford's one of those guys who, when he has his guy, he feels extremely comfortable. So Puka Nacua being back, but not just physically healthy, but also mentally healthy, keeping his mind clear is going to be huge throughout this entire season for the Rams to make another Super Bowl run.
I think Matthew Stafford being at practice today is symbolic, that he's not that ticked off about the Ty Simpson pick, which is always a concern. I mean, this is the guy who was the best quarterback in football last year. I don't think it's a coincidence. They gave him a lot of money last week to make him happy. I'd like to announce I'll show up to any practice for $55 million. I'm available. I might show up for practice for less than that. I'm open to negotiation. But I just think it goes back to when you see how good this team is out there and you see the defense in the front seven and guys like Jared Verse, how ready this team is to win the Super Bowl, you start to kind of roll your eyes again at the Ty Simpson pick. This is a franchise that a couple years ago won the Super Bowl because they went all in on the current team. And they took their medicine, they rebuilt, and they're back to being contenders again. What I don't understand is why they decided to go all in 2028 or 2029 when they were on the cusp of another ring. It's baffling. The core right now can win the Super Bowl. They are my Super Bowl pick right now out of the NFC, but that Ty Simpson pick might come back to haunt them in January.
Dude, Kev, here's what the Rams are betting on with that, though. They know they're in such a good place with Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay. They're not worried about how they're going to move the ball in 2026 or moving forward. As long as those two are in play and they got the receivers and everybody else, they feel like they're going to be able to move it. And you mentioned the 3 tight end sets. Sean McVay has prolonged Matthew Stafford's career. So on one end, they're kind of racing against time because he's 38. Right. He's year to year. He signed the 1-year extension. So they kind of have a 2-year window. It wouldn't even shock me if he got the urge here and wanted to play longer than that, because with what they're doing with the tight ends and him being under center more, he's not getting hit as much. He's staying healthier on the field, winning MVPs now, top 3 quarterbacks. So everything's in place for them to do what they need to do. The bigger question now is who else do they pay? That's a major concern right now. They have several key free agents in 2027 that have 1 year left on their deal. Puka Nacua, Byron Young off the edge, Steve Avila, offensive line, Kobe Turner, defensive tackle. I don't think they're really going to pay any of those guys right now. That's my sense. And so they're going to have a locker room where you have Trent McDuffie and Matthew Stafford getting this big money, and those guys aren't getting that. It's going to be fascinating to see how they handle that.
I just want to respond. That makes the Ty Simpson pick even more baffling in the sense you're not future-proofing the front seven, as we talked about. You're not future-proofing some of the – you're taking what amounts to a luxury pick when you might have to replace guys. The Jared Verse extension is going to be massive. That's going to take some of the money from those guys. So, again, I just don't understand the process that led them here. The Rams have done a lot of things right. That's just the one thing where I say in January, I don't know.
Insurance policy, 38-year-old quarterback.
So that's the one thing. That's the one thing that maybe you want an elite backup quarterback. But when has Sean McVay ever liked a young quarterback? That's the other thing.
That's the problem. He does like Puka Nacua, though. I do think he would be the one player who would be paid right now, or at least this summer, if it weren't for some of the off-field issues that he had. They want him to get his life in order, and then they'll revisit that. All
right, listen, we know there's no quarterback competition there, but there are plenty around the NFL. So I wanted to just check in with you on a few of these. What's the latest starting in Cleveland?
Cleveland, Deshaun Watson, my sense is he has the leg up on that quarterback competition right now, but the Browns have not made any sort of firm determination yet, but they like Watson's experience. Watson believes that Todd Monken's offense, which has some concepts like the air raid out of college, which he's run in the past, maybe some room to freelance a little bit out of the pocket. He likes that, feels like it's a fit, but he's got to go win the job. Hasn't done it yet. Shedeur Sanders has had his moments this spring. He'll have a chance. They hope to go with a quarterback, number 1 on the depth chart by training camp. We'll see how that shakes out. And you got Tua versus Michael Penix in Atlanta. This one's got a bit of a wrinkle because Michael Penix is still coming back from that knee issue. Hasn't been cleared yet for 11-on-11 work, but he is out there doing 7-on-7 work. You see him there handing off. Where Tua has an advantage is his accuracy. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has said many times before, but even recently in Atlanta, that accuracy is the number 1 important thing in his offense. Tua has that, and he's got the backing of Matt Ryan and Stefanski and all the quarterbacks in that building with a pass that, they're hoping they got a little QB factory there, and Tua could be a part of that if he wins the job. And you got the Vikings. You got Kyler Murray versus J.J. McCarthy. I talked to sources in the building who said Kyler Murray has handled himself like an alpha quarterback. He's walked in with the experience and the swagger you would expect from a guy who's been to Pro Bowls and had success. He's also taken the offense very quickly. He's absorbed it in a hurry. So the expectation league-wide is that he will have the leg up. However, J.J. McCarthy, I'm told that he's made improvements that the Vikings coaches have noted and have told him so. Things like layering the ball a little better, using all the clubs in your bag, not throwing a fastball all the time. He's shown some things this spring that have been impressive so far. Yeah, he definitely needs to improve from last season. And both McCarthy and Murray spoke about their relationship yesterday. Here's what each one had to say.
It's been great. It's been great. Obviously, I know he's a younger guy, so any way I can help him. Obviously, I feel like I've played 7 years now, going on 8. So I'm considered a veteran, even though I don't see myself as that. Give him any knowledge that he needs. Again, we're both competitors, and I know we both want what's best for the team.
Has he been receptive to hearing criticism?
Of course. Yeah, he's overly receptive, and he's always communicating, asking questions, stuff like that. So it's been good.
AJ, what's your relationship been like with Kyler so far?
It's just like two guys in a classroom. He sits on one side, I sit on the other side, and it's the coach's responsibility to teach us and coach us. So,
is there any awkwardness like between you two?
Awkwardness, it's just like the same feeling, when you're in high school and there's another person on the other side of the room. That's just kind of how it is. So I wouldn't say there's any awkwardness.
I don't know. That seemed a little awkward.
There's a lot of awkwardness in my high school.
But yeah. EJ, you've been there, right? You've been in these quarterback rooms. You've been in awkward situations. What do you think when you hear the comments from each of those guys?
Yeah, well, one, Kyler Murray sounds like the elder statesman, right? He sounds like the guy that's going into his 8th year, a guy who's made a lot of money in the NFL, who feels pretty secure in who he is as a quarterback moving forward. And JJ's still young, which is okay. He's still going, I believe, into his 3rd season now. And it is awkward, right? When you come into, especially if you're JJ, because you're the guy that got drafted there. They bring in a Kyler Murray who's had success, who's had failures, whatever, but also he was the number 1 overall pick at one point. So they know that he can play, and Kyler's coming in there to play. So for JJ, I think, one, the big thing, don't be insecure about your situation, man. Like, just continue to lock in, do the best you can in practice. Ultimately, the coach is going to make their decisions. But even if you're not the starter, you're still one play away. So I would say for him, the maturation as being a quarterback, they drafted you. They want you to have success overall. I don't know if he's going to be the day 1 starter, but ultimately, as long as he handles it like a pro, I think he'll be okay in the back end.
All right, JJ McCarthy, I'm going to introduce you to a concept you need to learn. It's called lying. You're going to need to do a lot of it in the next couple of months because even though it's not going to feel great, you're going to have to answer these questions with a degree of dishonesty and say you don't feel any awkwardness. Everything is okay. You're learning from Kyler Murray because you're already in that building behind the 8 ball a little bit because you were gifted probably one of the top 5 playbooks in football, one of the best receivers in football in Justin Jefferson, a coach who is obsessed with quarterback development and the quarterback journey and all of those things. You were handed quarterback development on a silver platter, and you didn't take advantage of it. That's what we saw last year. So they brought in Kyler Murray to solve their problems. I think he's probably going to have the support of the locker room, maybe the coaching staff, maybe the fan base. We'll see. You have an opportunity to sit, learn, and develop. They're not going to give up on you. Kevin O'Connell cares too much about quarterbacks to say, let's get this guy out of the building. But one thing you're going to have to do is embrace this opportunity, go from there. Right now, that's not the answer you need to be given.
Yeah. My sense is the Vikings will shoot him a little bail on those comments. He is well-liked in the locker room despite some of his uneven play, and they know he's in a competition. This guy's been through a lot. Injuries, soft benchings, you name it, he's been through it. So he's trying to compete. He's trying to win a job. Probably that's what came out of some of the competition. Not the most tactful. I will say, and EJ can speak to this, but some of the best quarterback rooms that I've learned about have been around. They all seem to find a way to support each other a little bit. It's one band, one sound. Whoever wins the job, you got to support the other guy.
Yeah, like EJ said, one play away, EJ.
Yeah. Well, again, we don't know who's going to be the starter, but I agree with both of you, Kevin and Jeremy, because, for JJ, it's all about development. At the end of the day, as long as you continue to show that you're getting better every single day, you can't really get caught up, especially in the spring, about, well, I didn't get the first conversation with the offensive coordinator in the meeting, or I didn't get the first rep with the ones in today's practice. You can't be insecure about your situation. You got to think long term, not just what's going on here in the spring and the summertime.
Man, that's such good advice. I love it. We have to say goodbye to our intramural basketball champion. Yes, Jeremy Fowler is leaving us now. Apparently, he's going on to bigger and better things.
I got to go train for my next.
You got a title to defend, so get on out of here. All right, next on NFL Live, the Jets 20s are in OTAs this week. New York trying to turn the page in year 2 under head coach Aaron Glenn after being tied for the NFL's worst record last season. They pick up 3 first-round draft picks and veteran quarterback Geno Smith, who has impressed his coach thus far.
When you watch him in the huddle today, man, you'll see he's he commands the huddle very well. He makes sure that everybody knows exactly what's going on when it comes to the play call. And then once he breaks the huddle, man, he makes sure everybody explodes out of the huddle and gets lined up. And then his ability to see exactly what's going on and try to make the play calls, whether it's protection calls or things like that, identifying the mic. He's very commanding, and you'll see that when it comes to that.
For more, we bring in Jets reporter Rich Cimini. Rich, what more can you tell us about what this offense might look like this season under Frank Reich with Geno at the helm?
Well, they're definitely going to lean into the running game with Breece Hall. In fact, Geno Smith was telling us today that when he found out that Breece Hall was training down in South Florida, not far from his home, he made it a point to go over to that particular gym and work out with Hall just to get to know him better. And, of course, this offense is going to be Garrett Wilson is going to be a big part of this offense. Wilson really likes this system. He raved about Frank Reich's system. He says it's player empowering, and by that he meant that players are being trained to make adjustments on the fly when things go off script. He finds that very refreshing, something they haven't had around here for a while. Wilson has seen a lot. This is his fourth different offensive system in 5 years. Geno Smith will be his ninth different quarterback. And one quick injury note, Hannah. Tight end Kenyon Sadiq, one of their first-round picks, had hernia surgery. He will miss the rest of OTAs, but they expect him back for the start of training camp.
Very interesting. Rich Cimini reporting from Jets camp. Thank you, my friend. And listen, as he mentioned, they did make 3 picks on night 1 of last month's draft. So they take pass rusher David Bailey, 2nd overall. Then those 2 pass catchers, including, we just heard, Kenyon Sadiq, and the news on his hernia surgery. Also, they drafted Clemson quarterback Cade Klubnik in the 4th round. He's going to be battling for that number 2 spot. So, EJ, I want to bring you in here on this little bit of breaking news, if you will. So we now know that Sadiq, who they have high hopes for, he's expected to miss some time. We have Geno coming in. What are your expectations for that duo this season? How much do they need from those 2?
Well, they definitely need a lot of good play from Geno, and I think this is a really cool situation for him specifically. We got drafted together in 2013. I went to Buffalo. He went to the New York Jets, and it's very, not often where you get an opportunity to go back to the place where they drafted you and almost kind of right whatever wrongs might have been out there. So I'm excited for Geno. But as far as Kenyon Sadiq, when I saw the New York Jets grab him, additionally in the 1st round with a couple other guys like David Bailey and Omar Cooper Jr., I was like, this is a perfect fit for whoever the quarterback is, especially considering Frank Wright's going to be calling the plays there as the OC. He's going to use multiple tight ends. You already have Mason Taylor from last year. And Sadiq is one of those guys that you can put him in the backfield. You can put him in motion on a jet sweep and hand off the football. You can put him in the slot. You can put him out wide. And you technically have 2 tight ends, which would be 12 personnel, but you get wide receiver type speed where you see this guy run a 4.3. And I'll just add this. So if he just got a surgery on a hernia, imagine the fact that he ran a 4.3 at the combine with this injury.
Wow.
So think about when he's actually healthy in his full blast. This dude is extremely explosive, and he'll be a huge piece for Geno in that offense this year.
Yeah, and a huge piece, as you mentioned, for Frank Reich, because he can do so many different things. So what do we consider? Okay, the bar is low. 3 wins last year. What's a positive step for the Jets this season?
Well, 3.5 wins? 4? No. Really, I mean, this is to Woody Johnson, the owner. I know I don't say this often, but the Jets are doing everything the right way right now, and you need to let this play out. In the New York market, with the way the Jets media is set up, everything feels like a tempest in a teapot. They need to take a step back with ownership here and let the build happen. They are doing things the right way. I don't think Geno Smith is a long-term starter, but guess what? Next year's draft is going to be 5, 6, 7 quarterbacks deep, like some of the drafts we've seen in the past few years. Taking 2 Indiana guys, 1 receiver and 1 cornerback to change the culture. Indiana had one of the best turnaround stories in the history of sports. Now you come into a Jets franchise that needs one of the best turnarounds in the history of sports. They're the Jets. So you bring those types of guys in. You heard reports about meddling from ownership in January. You heard reports about Aaron Glenn having to take over play calling because that's what ownership wanted. Let the guys in place do their job. They're not going to win big this year. They may not win big next year. But you have to let this play out. Otherwise, you repeat the sins the Jets always repeat.
Yeah, Kevin, I agree. You do have to let it play out, but a lot of times franchises don't. And I don't know if the Jets will be in that situation. And I will say for Aaron Glenn, going in as his 2nd year as their head coach, to kind of put that trust into Geno, I got a lot of respect for him because obviously Aaron Glenn was like, look, we got to go out here and be much better offensively and, of course, defensively. Being that he's a former DC, they're going to have to play much better. And this is a tough division. I think the Dolphins got a little bit better. The Bills are certainly very good as well. New England just made it to a Super Bowl. So ultimately the Jets you got to win. You got to win fast in this league to keep your job.
Yeah, it just seems like forever since they've had a top 10 scoring offense. You have to go all the way back to 2008. Brett Favre was the starter. Yeah. Yep. All right, still to come. Quarterback Lamar Jackson spoke about the changes with Jesse Minter and his new staff.
New coach, new OC, different new guys in positions. So everything is just new, basically, besides upstairs, But coaching staff is just new, and I can say it's a breath of fresh air because everything is just new. That's all.
AJ, what do you expect from Lamar, that breath of fresh air in Declan Doyle's offense?
Yeah, well, Hannah, I'll say my breath of fresh air is when I was in college beating the Miami Hurricanes every single season. Kevin's Miami Hurricanes, by the way.
Yes.
But I will say this for Lamar. Here's why it's a breath of fresh air. Is because he's going to have a lot of collaboration in this offense. They got Declan Doyle as their new offensive coordinator. Declan's the same age as Lamar. They're both 29. So from what I've read, Declan is extremely into making sure his quarterback's comfortable. They're trying to get to know each other. But I think that's integral, one, because Declan comes in and pays the respect to Lamar, who's been a two-time MVP in the NFL. But also, if Lamar's not comfortable with the offense, it's not going to work. So I think that part alone is a huge breath of fresh air for Lamar Jackson going into this season.
I really appreciate your delayed dig back at your co-analyst here today.
I got comfortable, didn't see it coming.
That's right.
I'm rattled.
You shouldn't have started it. To Philly, where Saquon Barkley reached out to a former running back for tips. This is really cool. I'm playing in Sean Mannion's new offensive system. Take a listen.
One guy that I've been focused on and talked to him a little bit over Instagram, Todd Gurley. Watching kind of his film. Obviously it's a little bit different, but the big years that he had when he was playing and when he was healthy, the way that he attacked it. But I do that no matter what in the offseason. Watch guys that are in the league right now who I'm fans of, the Bijan, the Gibbs, McCaffrey, Henry, Jonathan Taylor's of the world, and also go back to the OGs and watch them, just see what I can add to my game, and just always looking forward to improving my game also.
Love the fact that he reached out and did that. Kevin, do you expect him to have a bounce-back year?
A massive year, yes. I mean, this is very simple. Last year, he did not get the run blocking we associate with the Philadelphia Eagles. He was contacted behind the line of scrimmage almost half the time. That was bottom 10 in the entire NFL. That's a run blocking stat. Also, they ran into loaded boxes a lot. They got a loaded box rate much higher than they did in 2024. I expect a retooled offense gives him more room to run. Jalen Hurts ran less last year. If he runs more again this year, maybe that opens up lanes as well. Saquon will have a bounce-back year, absolutely guaranteed.
Yeah, get back to those explosive plays that led to the Super Bowl. All right, Caleb Williams and the Bears want to get there. They continue their OTA workouts today, trying to build off a promising first season under head coach Ben Johnson. Johnson spoke today about what the offense is focusing on to help them take that next step.
Completion percentage is something that we're going to emphasize. And so what did they get when they came into the offensive meeting today? They got the chart of what was our completion percentage yesterday, who had drops, what did our scramble drill look like when those naturally occurred. And so that's really our first objective, is just drawing more attention to it. We're being very critical on where we're putting that football with them, and that's something that we grade every day.
Year one under Ben Johnson, they took the NFC North for the first time since 2018. They got a lot of scrappy wins along the way, winning 7 games after trailing in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter, the most by any team since the merger. That included their win over the Packers in the wild card, giving the Bears their first playoff win since 2010. EJ, what do you need to see from the team this season to show you that they are building off of year one?
Yeah, well, look, they were fantastic in year one under Ben Johnson, and also Caleb Williams was too. I think it's 2 things. One, the growth of Caleb Williams within this offense. I just want to see him as an elite processor, not just the athlete that can run around and make the heroic plays. We know that he can do that. But when he gets to that level where he is carving you up mentally, when he gets to the line of scrimmage, he already knows where he's going to go with the football. And if that first and second read's not there, he's not being, not smart with the football. He's hitting the check down, or he's either taking off and sliding and protecting his body. And the second piece, too, is defensively. When you look at the Bears, they were probably in the lower third of the league as far as stopping the run and slowing down the pass. So I think that's a huge area of growth. Make sure Caleb Williams is continuing to get better as a passer and decision maker, but also make sure that defense is tight, too, so Caleb doesn't have to put up 40 points.
EJ, You nailed it. It's that last part there. The defense, you cannot be 27th in rushing the passer and be a Super Bowl contender. It's just not possible in the modern NFL with the way offenses play. They don't draft a pass rusher in April's draft, and then Ben Johnson says, guess what we're going to do? We're going to rely on the guys like Montez Sweat who are in the building, and we're going to coach better. So they're putting the pressure on them inside the building, both as players and as coaches. I like it. I think they get a little better. They have to be average at the very least. That's how they take the next step. The offense is good. In fact, Ben Johnson will have a Super Bowl caliber playbook every single year.
Yeah, they did have 33 takeaways, I'm just saying. A good job keeping the peace, you guys. I loved it. Thanks for joining us on NFL Live. No